The title of what I'm going to talk about today is Your Game Plan for 2021 Should Be a God Plan. So I'm going to say that again. Your game plan for 2021 should be a God plan. And so if we haven't figured anything else out, it is that we need to expect the unexpected. Um, Unexpected adverse circumstances are going to come, um, and is virtually guaranteed. You know, we there was the end of 2020. We were all looking for the beginning of 2021, and we're already starting on a rough page, right? We wanted 2020 to end, but like now we're beginning 2021, and you know, one of the things that you can be guaranteed is that there are going to be unexpected adverse circumstances that come into your life that are just going to happen. It's a guarantee that these crises and these challenges are going to come out of nowhere. That is a guarantee of life. And so when dealing with adversity, when dealing with challenge, the premise of what I want to talk about today is this: how we respond to those unexpected crises will determine our results. I'll say that again. How we respond to the unexpected challenges and circumstances of life will determine our results. See, I believe that much of our success and fulfillment in life, get this, much of our success and fulfillment in life is not so much about what we do when we're on the mountaintop, but it's about how we manage and navigate the valleys. It's not so much, we all trying to get to the mountaintop and win and be our best selves and have the businesses thrive and the relationships grow. And it's not so much about what happens when you're there, but it's more about how you manage the valleys to be able to get back on the mountain. And so we're all setting goals right now. I'm sure, many of us have set some goals, and including myself, I've set some goals for this upcoming year in multiple areas of my life. And then you set the goal, and then you create a game plan to be able to achieve the goal, right? You say, I got to lose the weight. Then you create a game plan for how many days you got to go to the gym in a week and what you need to eat. And you set a goal for the business, how much income you want to make this year and how many presentations you have to do and how many sales you have to make. We create the game plan. But here is the question: what happens whenever the adverse outcome comes or the adverse challenge comes and it forces you to change the game plan? How are you going to respond? Because how we respond will determine our results. So we end up changing the game plan. Now, oftentimes, the response that will ruin our results is the response of panic, fear, lack of action, and being stuck, staying stuck, focusing on the problem as opposed to the solution, negativity. These are all responses that will ruin the results whenever the unexpected happens, because we're already having it this year, fellas. We're already having riots. We already have a pandemic that where the numbers are more than we would have ever imagined at the beginning of the year. So here's what you got to understand is that a God plan, not a game plan, but a God plan can handle any challenge and adverse outcome, period. You don't have to change a God plan. We're going to talk about what a God plan here in a minute. Oftentimes we have to change, we keep the goal, we change the game plan whenever this adverse outcome or circumstance happens. But a God plan can handle any challenge and adverse outcome. You don't have to change it. Game plans change, God plans don't. God plans work when game plans don't. So your game plan should be a God plan. So what is a God plan? A God plan is a personal plan to build a strong relationship with God. Look, spoiler alert, I'm just going to tell you the end, right? We have to have a relationship with God, fellas. And I'm not talking about this casual, yes, I believe in God. Yes, I know God. Man, I'm talking about an intimate daily relationship with God, time spent with Him, intimate time with God as a best friend, as a Lord, as in everything for your life. And you got to have a plan for that. You have to have a plan to build this relationship. It cannot be haphazard. This God plan will help you to respond in a way that will help you navigate the valleys so that you can respond in a way in which your results can actually reflect where you want to go. So it's a personal plan to build a strong relationship with God. Schedule time in prayer and conversation with God and reading His word so that we can understand who we are and the plan He has for our lives. Here's what's crazy about this: the more you practice this plan of God, the more God can share His plan for you. Most of us are looking for clarity. We want to be able to see where we're going. What is God's plan for me? We can't have that without spending scheduled, planned time with God, and we have to create a God plan. Most of us are trying to game plan these different areas of life, like how am I going to win in my business? How am I going to, get this relationship right? How am I going to lose that 20 or 30 pounds, right? That COVID-19 that a lot of us put on. Like, we got plans for everything else, but what is the God plan? The more you practice this plan of God, the more that God can share His plan for you. And so why should we have a God plan? Because to me, today what I want to encourage men is, why should you have one? I know for me at one point I was like, why I got to do all this stuff with God? I don't understand the significance of it. So my goal here is to try to convince you need this God plan so that you practice it, because there's so many benefits to having a plan in which you spend quality time with God, intimate time with God, and you look forward to getting up and spending that time with God and realize what it's going to do for your life. I'm talking about every single day. So here's what you got to understand is that this God plan establishes the right beliefs that leads to the results that you desire. So this is the number one thing. This is the first one. It's the first reason why you want to have a God plan, is that it establishes the right belief that leads to the results that you desire. You got to understand how this works and how the mind works. So I need you to follow me here. Our beliefs, the beliefs that we have in our mind, lead to thoughts. These thoughts lead to feelings. You feel good, you feel bad about something. These feelings lead to behaviors or actions, which then lead to results. See, any result that you're trying to have is predicated upon an action, a consistent action or behavior that you have to do. If you're trying to lose weight, you got to get in the gym. You got to actually do some stuff. If you're trying to make more money, you got to actually go out there and do some things. But those behaviors are predicated upon the beliefs that you have. And if you don't have the right beliefs up here, I'm talking about the roots that eventually create the fruit, right? We spend way too much time thinking about the fruit and not focusing on the root, these beliefs. If a God plan allows you to get the right belief and identity, here's what you have to understand is that we have to know who we are, who God says we are. A God plan will allow you to do that. We cannot outperform our identity. I'm going to say it one more time. You cannot outperform your identity. How you self perceive yourself, you will never perform more than that. If you see yourself as a mouse, you can't perform like a lion. It's just not going to happen, right? If you look, you can have a Ferrari all day, but if you drive it like a Ford Focus, it don't matter. How you perceive yourself is how you're going to be yourself. And until we understand who God truly says we are, made in His image, made in God's image, fearfully and wonderfully made, like Paul says, co-heir with Christ. Paul said we are co-heir with Christ. If you understand that, guess what? Your belief changes. When the belief changes, so do the thoughts, and then the behaviors change and the results change. Therefore, a God plan, you knowing who God is and what He says about you, changes your identity to who He says you are. You don't show up like a mouse, you show up like a lion. You don't show up like a Ford Focus, you show up like the Ferrari and the high performing man that he made us to be. Belief is so powerful, guys. I'll tell you this: when I'm in my clinic, the patients who believe that they'll get better. The ones who come into my clinic and they have a certain belief that they'll get better, they get better. Compared to the ones there's a worry, there's kind of a fear, there's I don't know, should we do this procedure? I don't know. I would say about 10 times out of 10, the patients who believe they get better, even if there are complications, they end up getting better. Belief is just so powerful. God plan establishes the right belief that leads to the results that you desire. The other thing is that the God plan will provide confidence to have more faith than fear, to be able to have more faith than fear. And so I love what Isaiah 41:10 says. It says, so do not fear. See, these words mean nothing if you don't know God. Let's start there. These words mean nothing, but if you know God, you can take these words and have confidence in them. It says, so do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you and will uphold you with my righteous right hand. When you know God and have this relationship with him, you know him and you trust him and you hear these words, there is no reason to worry in the midst of a pandemic. There's no reason to worry in the midst of rioting and unrest in our country. There's no reason to worry when the business is actually going south, AKA a valley, these valleys that we navigate. Okay? So the God plan provides confidence to have more faith than fear. The God plan provides redemption. Here's the crazy thing, fellas. We all have a past. We all have a past. And we have all made poor decisions in our life, including myself. And these past oftentimes will keep us being stuck. It won't allow us to move forward. And we're thinking about this past poor decisions in our relationships, past poor decisions as husbands, as fathers, as business owners, poor financial decisions. But here's what's crazy. Left to those decisions and events that happen in our life by themselves, separate from God, they will stay bad. They will stay bad. But the only thing, like Johnny Mack was saying, that can turn it around, that can turn the wrong into right, that can turn the past pain into future purpose, that can turn a past trial into triumph is God. The only thing that can turn something that has already been bad and will stay bad, the only thing that will turn it around is a relationship with God. So Genesis says, what the enemy meant for evil, God turned into good. God did, not us. We're not capable of turning that bad into good. But we all have that past and it can be redeemed. I've made horrible decisions in life when it comes to finances, as a husband, as a father, right? Haven't shown up like I was supposed to. However, my relationship with God, he redeemed all of that to say, you know what? All the trials you've been in as a man, because you now have this relationship with me, I've turned it into a message for men, right? You take something like COVID, right? You spend time with God. I was blessed to be able to COVID turn that time where I was out of clinic, not making any money because things had shut down, to create a live stream podcast to help people. Again, turning bad into good. God can only redeem that. You need to have a God plan to make sure that you redeem all those past mess ups in our lives. A God plan allows you to avoid being stuck and helps you take right action. I want you to think about this. What you focus on expands. Say that again. What you focus on expands. Where your focus goes, your energy will flow to that. And so therefore, when we focus on our problems, I'm not saying deny the fact that you have a problem. No, that's denial. That's crazy. But when we acknowledge our problems, we have to acknowledge it, but we can't focus on it. Because when we focus on it, the problem gets bigger. When we focus on our problems and stuckness, the problem and the stuckness gets bigger. However, again, what you focus on expands. When you focus on God, your God gets bigger. Right? When you focus on God and the power he has in you, it all gets bigger. So my man Reggie, he's a golfer. right? So I can speak this language. He's gonna understand this. You know, oftentimes when they're teaching you golf and you hitting a golf shot, they say you got the trees on the right, you got the water on the left. Don't focus on the trees. Don't focus on the water. Focus on the fairway. If you focus on the trees, guess what's gonna happen? You're gonna hit the trees. If you focus on the water, you're gonna hit the water. What are you focused on? We have to focus on God so that that becomes bigger in our lives as opposed to our problems and being stuck. And then last but not least, a God plan provides fulfillment. Listen, fellas, this is fact. What I'm about to tell you is fact. We cannot have true sustaining fulfillment outside of God. I'm talking about being fulfilled in life, man. We cannot have true sustaining fulfillment outside of God. He's our creator. God provides fulfillment. So here's the deal. When you break down the word fulfillment, we have to get full by God. He makes our cup full so we can then go fill other people's cup. That's how we become full, filled. We got to have a God plan to fill our cup every single day. We charge our phones every day. We got a better plan for our phones and how we recharge the phones than we do with God and recharging our spiritual life. So here's the question, fellas. What is your God plan? What is your God plan for 2021? What are you going to do to ensure that you build a consistent relationship with God? So no matter the circumstance, right? Because like we've seen, 2021 has already started off with turmoil, that you can still see results because you've been able to manage the valleys. What is your God plan? Because I want you to think about this, man. It can be a great year, but it's going to be how you respond. It's going to be how you respond to the unexpected. So I need you to answer that question for yourself. That's the challenge today is, what is my God plan? Thank you, fellas.